Welcome to Mika Amcha Yisrael. With your permission, I'd like to pose a question in some ways continuing with our parasha from last week. If a person is born extraordinary, brilliant, gift, filled with promise, does that alone make them great? Or does greatness only begin the moment the potential is used? The Torah gives us a stunning answer. Moshe Rabbeinu enters the world radiant with promise. The Torah itself testifies she saw the child was good. Light fills the room, destiny seems obvious, and yet something astonishing happens. The Torah refuses to name his parents, not because Amram and Yocheved were unworthy, not because they lacked righteousness, but because in the Torah's value system, potential, even holy potential, earns absolutely no credit until it's actualized. Brilliance is not a legacy. Promise is not an achievement. Talent is not an accomplishment. Only when Moshe steps forward, discarding royalty, chasing his responsibility, humbling himself to serve his people, sacrificing comfort for Torah, only then is he acknowledged. Now we will tell you as parents are. Because in the Torah, identity follows action. The Holy Netziv teaches that unused potential is not neutral. It carries weight, it carries expectation, and if it's left untouched, it's a zero-sum game. Borei Olam doesn't measure us by what we carry inside, but rather by what we bring into the world. And oftentimes, a person goes through life never realizing that their quiet, unnoticed actions are already shaping heaven until a single moment reveals what their potential has truly become. Rav Pinchas Peretz, he wasn't a public figure. He didn't deliver speeches for Torah Anytime, or iTorah for that matter. He didn't even stand at a podium, period. He owned a small print shop in Ofakim, Israel, and day after day, quietly and consistently, he printed words of chizuk and emunah, messages meant to steady the hearts and lift spirits. He printed them at his own expense, and he distributed them freely. Among them were the teachings of Chacham Ovadia Yosef, Zecher Tzadik Kadosh Livracha. He placed them gently into the world, reaching people who might never open a sefer, but nonetheless would pause at a sentence on a window or a bumper sticker. People were strengthened. Bitachon and emunah were awakened, and Rav Pinchas went on with his life, never truly understanding how Shemayim was recording every detail. Then one day, through a devastating lapse, Lo Aleinu V'Kol Beit Yisrael, he left his beautiful young daughter locked in a car on a scorching day. 5 endless hours passed, and when he realized what had happened, sheer terror consumed him. Emergency responders rushed in from every direction. There was no natural explanation, yet somehow, against all reason, she was barely alive. A faint heartbeat, but a heartbeat nonetheless. That night, he slept in the hospital next to his beautiful little Miriam, and he dreamt. Rav Pinchas clearly dreamed he was standing before the heavenly court. The Beit Din Shel Ma'ala, where the decree had already been issued. His daughter was not meant to remain in this world. Then from behind the parochet entered the holy Chacham Ovadia Yosef, declaring the following: this man, Rav Pinchas, he strengthened others in the lower world. He is marbitz and mechazek Torah, much of which I have authored. He is mekarev people closer to Borei Olam, and is mezakeh et rabim. The Beit Din reached down for the decree, and before his bewildered eyes, it was torn. Rav Pinchas awoke a few hours later with a deeper understanding of the emet. It wasn't a single moment that saved his daughter. It was a lifetime of quiet, consistent, faithful action. Ladies and gentlemen, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches us that greatness is not inherited. Rav Pinchas teaches us that greatness is not announced. Moshe Rabbeinu was born luminous, yet Shemayim waited. Rav Pinchas lived quietly, and Shemayim remembered. Because Borei Olam doesn't write names into eternity for the promise alone. He writes them for responsibility, for consistency, for lives that quietly choose to matter. You may never know while hear the true weight of your actions. You may never hear Shemayim whisper your name, but know this: every word you place into the world, every act done without applause, every choice to use what you've been given, that is what builds identity. That is what rewrites decrees. And that is what makes a life eternal. And perhaps, just perhaps, the most demanding truth of all is this: Borei Olam isn't waiting for us to become extraordinary. Rather, he's waiting for us to effectively use what we have already been blessed with. Shabbat Shalom u'Mevorach.